Good morning, welcome to Tuesday morning's Indycar show. My name is Gordon Ross. We're in Partick this morning and it's quite a nice day. Sorry for the interference from the radio there. It's a nice day in Partick and this morning's subjects are actually current subjects in the news. The first off being the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage today, which the BBC has made quite a big event out of on their news this morning, which is good in a way because it is worth marking this particular anniversary. I get rather sick of the BBC marking the anniversary of battles, military adventures, wars and all the rest of it. So for once the BBC has marked an actually important date in British history, which was 1918 when women's suffrage finally achieved its aim of getting some women the vote, those over 30, and also got the vote for men over the age of 21. It was something which actually was overlooked a little bit, that young people or younger people started to get votes as well. Now it's obviously, it's improved the lives of women dramatically, being able to take part in democracy. But at the top of the show I was pointing out the fact that despite this, this growth in the powers of women over the last 100 years and their rights as individuals becoming equal, they still face discrimination in the workplace. They still face a far higher degree of disadvantage in the workplace because they have children, because they have to raise families, or they have to share the parenting. They might have to take time out of work to do that, and yet they are blamed for that by employers and punished for it in some cases. Even unofficially, many women find that when they come back to work after having children, that their job has been changed and it's been perhaps downgraded in some way. That's quite a common thing, and eventually women like that leave that employment because their job is made unpleasant for them, and eventually they're forced out. And it's all entirely legal, and the unions have very little power to change it. That's something I would like to see changed after independence, is that women's rights as workers should be much more protected than they are now, and the rights of unions to represent them and to take cases to court should be protected as well. Now on top of that, we know that in Scotland and in England that women of a certain age who were approaching retirement age, I think it was 18 months ago, and were expecting to retire at the age of 60, suddenly had their pension snatched out of their grasp by a drastic and unannounced government change to the age at which women can retire in this country. These are known as the WASPy women. You've probably heard this title. And these women have been largely forgotten again since that event took place. They're now faced with having to work additional years to get the money that they were entitled to at the point where they were due to retire, and there's been nothing done to redress this. Mary Black of the SNP has been fighting a tireless campaign to get this recognised and have these women recompensed for their loss, because they have incurred a huge financial loss. They've planned for their retirement at a certain age, scaled their lives down in preparation for retirement, ready to do it, and bang, the whole thing is snatched away from them without any warning whatsoever, not phased in any way. So very unfair, and it's time something was done about that. Also today there have been other things in the news. The big one I think that's caught my eye this morning was the sudden fall in the Dow Jones stock market yesterday. Now, the American stock market plummeted dramatically yesterday. It lost, if I remember, over 100 points, and it's precipitated huge drops in stock markets across the globe. And as the eastern markets, the Far Eastern markets opened, they too shot down. Most of them were losing somewhere in the region of 3 to 4%. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a very big drop in any stock market. The FTSE opened this morning, I think it was 3% down. I'll need to check that figure, but the stock markets are starting to drop. Now people wonder about what stock markets mean, and the fact is that when the stock market is buoyant, all it means is that people are buying shares and stocks. They feel confident because they buy it. Shares in a company, they know those shares are going to increase in value. Now they think the opposite. Now they're selling shares rapidly because they feel that the shares are going to lose value. This means that the market is overinflated. We've had since 2008, 10 years of almost zero interest rates, which has encouraged companies to borrow vast amounts of money, to expand rapidly, and in America to pay higher wages, which sounds great, and it is great for the workers whose wages are increased. But now that's going to force inflation up to the point where bank interest rates will have to rise, and this is what's spooking the markets worldwide. Rising interest rates will mean falling back into recession, and this boom and bust cycle is starting to reverse again, but this time it's dropping very fast. Now, I've mentioned this subject many times before, that since 2008 the global economy has basically scraped along the bottom with no increase at all in its productivity or its efficiency or its growth, simply because the global economy has grown so fat it can't grow anymore. The boom that we've seen in the United States and in the stock markets across the world has been artificial. It's been blown up out of proportion by people buying stocks, thinking that they're going to rise, and the more people buy stocks, the more they rise, because people see people buying stocks. The point is that these things are led by panic or by greed, and greed and panic are the things which drive global capitalism. The point is this the right method for Scotland to use once it's independent? How do we run our economy to make sure that we are future-proofed against sudden falls in the world economy, in the global economy? How do we protect ourselves as a small nation from the effects of that? It's a difficult one to put into simple terms, but I think in general terms my opinion would be we need to change our economy away from a purely capitalist greed model where everybody's out to get as much profit as possible in the shortest possible time, and for that profit to go only to the investors and for the workers to be paid as little as possible to maximise profit, because that's the way capitalism currently works. I would like to see Scotland become more of a commodities trading or a utilities trading nation, whereby rather than seeking high profits all the time, what we seek is stability and sustainability for everybody in the country. And also we should have a goal in our economy of maximum employment for our own people. Now there will be, as people have pointed out, robots and automation built into most economies, but it's up to human beings to choose how much robotisation and how much automation there is in an economy. And there is nothing wrong with human beings doing the jobs that some robots do, because some of these jobs are highly skilled, and it took human beings to teach the robots how to do them. So what I'm saying here is that we have choices to make if we're independent. At the moment we don't have any choices about the way the country is run. The country is run on a greedy policy of pure capitalism, neoliberal market economics, driven by the markets. The markets are the greedy people who buy and sell shares, the greedy people who buy and sell currencies. They are the ones who make a fortune without actually ever contributing anything. They don't make anything, they don't sell anything, they just buy and sell money, basically, or they buy and sell risk. But these people who do that contribute nothing to the global economy, and that's what's driven this current boom and bust cycle. The rest of the world's economy is still scraping along the bottom, and it's not going to budge. The problem is that the capitalist system hasn't noticed that it's actually dead. It's still trying to do boom and bust, and the 1% or so of the population who are greedy and are buying and selling stocks and shares, buying and selling currencies, are still up to their old tricks, and they are the only ones who ever get wealthy during periods like this. So I think it's fair to say that we need to change our own economy after independence to one that's more balanced, one that's more outward looking, one where we're trading with people, and one where when we do make large profits and generate surpluses, those are shared either equally among the employees of the firm, and they're then contributing higher taxes into the nation, or the country taxes those companies a little more than they do now. So as the profits increase, the taxes increase as well. But there are ways of balancing these things out, and at the moment we have no choice about how that is done. So it's been a week of interesting things happening, but The world economy at the moment is in a bad place, and it isn't going to change. Capitalism has hit the wall. It can't expand anymore. Growth-driven economics don't work anymore because growth has come so far that it now encompasses the world. There's nowhere else to grow to. If we use more resources now in another growth spurt, then the earth will be wrecked. We'll have used up all its resources, and every human being who can be exploited for profit will have been exploited for profit. So this is a good time for us as a country, once we have our independence, to come up with a new model of our own economics so that our nation can be an example of how to be sustainable. Not how to be greedy, but how to generate enough income for a country to keep everybody comfortably and keep them in work, and to keep trading with other countries in a fair way, on a level playing field. And that is what the European Union provided for us, and still does at the moment provide for us. A level playing field where our goods, our services, our commodities and utilities can be traded across borders without any paperwork and without any disadvantage to anybody. It's a good way to trade. The world can work a lot better this way. This is why I've always supported trade with the EU. It might not be that we need to stay in the EU to have this trade, but on the other hand, we might get more benefits from staying in. But I think we need to decide that as Scots ourselves after we've attained our independence, when we can all talk about this issue of Europe more intelligently, and where we can have more options in a referendum so that we can pick the one which is definitely right for Scotland and which is going to provide the sustainability that we all desire, and also that provides the jobs and the futures for our children that they deserve after all their hard work at school and university. At the moment, we're training children to emigrate because Scotland does not have the jobs and opportunities it should have. Most of those are clustering around London still. London is where all the money is, it's where all the companies are, and nothing comes out of London at the moment. It's like a huge black hole. Its gravitational pull pulls all the cash, all the jobs into the southeastern corner of the United Kingdom. If we want to change that and make sure our children have jobs, we need to locate our centres of industry in Scotland, and we need to locate our centre of government in Scotland as well, so that we can control those jobs, we can control the inward investment, and we can make sure that our kids have the jobs and careers that they deserve. At the moment, we can't. That's about it for today's broadcast. There are probably one or two things I've forgotten today, but to be honest with you, today was an odd news day, and I think as time goes on and more things become evident about Brexit, about the Tories, even about Labour. Labour seem to have actually become invisible in the last few days. You may have noticed that. The Tories are very quiet here at the moment as well. They're very quiet because the market is crashing at the moment. The global market is crashing, and this is something the Tories hate to talk about because it is their god. It's what they worship. Global capitalism, neoliberal global capitalism, market economies. This is what the Tories worship at the altar of, and when it fails, and it has done so this week, they will not talk about it. They will go silent. It's as if nothing has happened. You'll notice from the BBC today that there was only a very brief mention of the falls on Wall Street and the FTSE and on the Far East markets, and they're trying to play it down and say it's an adjustment, it's a correction. Well, yes, it is a correction, but how much further down will it correct before it stabilises? The question is, will we see interest rates rise? If interest rates rise, then the British economy is in severe trouble, because at the moment it can barely manage its debts. Just imagine if the percentage increase goes up by 1 or 2%, the British economy will be knackered because they will not be able to afford the interest on that. And this is the issue for everybody at the moment. Once interest rates start to go back up, if they do, then we're in trouble because everybody's money is going to be worth less. Borrowing money is going to be more difficult. Businesses will have difficulty finding money. It will be harder to get mortgages, so homeowners will find it difficult to buy a house. So the housing market will slow down and eventually reverse. All of these things are affected, and we need to realise that global economic forces around us at the moment are blowing us around all over the place, and we have no control over any of it. We could get that control if we separate our system from the global capitalist system and grow a self-sufficient national economy without any interference from world banking at all, and without borrowing money in order to run the country. We already make and sell enough stuff around the world to support our entire population with ease, without any oil at all. We're already making £2 billion worth of surpluses in the last year alone. Oil prices are skyrocketing, you may have noticed. The finds in the North Sea are increasing. Oil is becoming plentiful again. Now, as soon as the price of oil and the availability of it goes up, the Tories shut up again. They don't want to tell you about this because it makes Scotland wealthier again, makes it more likely to be independent. So things are changing around us. Oil price is climbing, which is very good for Scotland indeed. And the Scottish economy is buoyant, which is excellent, and it's strong, and it's a mixed economy. If we separate from London now, we have a chance to form a stable, sustainable country, and it's probably the best chance we're going to get. If we stay in the UK, what will happen is we'll get dragged down with Brexit, prices will shoot up. We know that the Tories will start to implement fracking because INEOS is going to challenge the ban in the High Court. We know that, and in a few months' time, INEOS will be able to start fracking if we do not separate ourselves from the UK. That's the only way we can protect ourselves. There are carrots and sticks in this situation. We can go it alone and have a great future, stick with the UK and be punished and fracked, and have nuclear waste dumped here, have nuclear weapons dumped here, have all the jobs sucked down to the southeast, and have our jobs basically crippled as the economy is shrunk by the fact that Brexit is cutting all our exports. So, a lot to think about today. The global economy, the waspy women, they need to get some reparation for the money they've lost. They deserve it. In fact, all women of all ages need to think about this as well and support the waspy women. There's not many men talk about this, but imagine if it was you and you're a man and you get to 65, you're about to retire and you think, thank God, I can stop working and retire now, and they say, no you can't, you've got to work for another 5 years. How would you feel? You've set your life up ready to retire, you may have made plans, you might have changed your savings, you might have sold your house and downsized, you might have done all kinds of things, and suddenly the Tory government wrecks it on a whim by just changing that date. How would you feel about it? Okay, that's me for today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. As usual, if you have any comments on the show, please contact me after the broadcast. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.